Join me working on my wedding garments. I've got quite a few things to make and I thought I would take you on the journey. This is going to be kind of like an all-in-one video across the 5 days, maybe 6. But each of the garments that I'm making for my wedding will have their own dedicated videos as well. So let's have a look at all the things I've got to do this week. So starting with Monday, my other half has literally not long left to go for a conference. So I am home alone, which gives me, we have half of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have 5 full days and half of Monday, which is today, to get stuff done. I'm very excited. We have lots to do. We have the corset, which I'm about a quarter of the way through, maybe a fifth actually, that I'll be wearing for the day. We have a daytime ceremony skirt for myself and possibly an evening skirt for the party. We have 2 waistcoats, one for the best man, one for the groom. We have 3 dresses, one for the maid of honor, 2 for the bridesmaids. We also have 1 cravat and I want to say 6 ties. We have 3 ushers, 2 fathers and 1 best man. So that's 6 ties. The ties may not happen. We're going to play it by ear. Let me run you through the fabric options so that you can see what the plan is. And yeah, we can plan out how the week's going to look, I think. Or maybe I just roll with it and I show you like, this is what we do Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and so on and so forth. I don't film like this normally, so I'm not sure how it's going to look. What I can say is that each of the garments, so like the corset, the waistcoats, those are all going to have their own separate videos as well. So I will do like highlights here in this one, and then the rest will be like an actual video for each garment. The corset might have a couple, but it'll be fun. So I have everything gathered and laid out. We've got the men's waistcoats, we have the wedding corset, we have toiling fabric, main fabric, and this is bridesmaids, maid of honor. This is a chiffon, this is a satin. I know the colors don't work together. We're gonna test something out. We have the lace that I'm planning to use for me here. And this is wedding corset in progress. So I am a little bit stymied because not all the fabrics are here. I did take delivery at the end of last week of the bridesmaids fabric. I don't love it, but it's not my vision. But I think my vision was autumnal. We're getting married at the end of August, so that's kind of like high summer. Let me grab the fabric so you can see what we're going to be working with. Also, if you're wondering why I'm sitting here in a bikini heat wave, so this is the waistcoat fabric for the groom and best man. Kind of like a paisley. It's a soft ivory, so it matches the fabric for my corset. It's a soft drafted pattern. I did the pattern myself, and this is the tencel twill lining. So I washed it. Probably the biggest mistake of my life. I was like, I'll wash it, pre-shrink it. And then it's been an absolute nightmare to get the creases out of. And I don't know why I pre-shrunk it, because at the end of the day, David is the only, I don't think his best man, James, is likely to wear it again. So it probably didn't matter. David is likely to wear it again, and probably he would get it dry cleaned. So I didn't actually need to wash it, but it's done now. So it's really drapey. It's lovely, actually. I'm liking it more than I did when I cut it and overlocked it. But I still feel like it's not, I don't know, there's something, I think it's going to work fine for the interior lining. I don't think it's going to work for the back lining, which is why we're waiting on another fabric, which is a cotton, and we'll just see if it arrives. They did ship it. It's coming from Belgium. So that's the waistcoats, the bridesmaids dresses. I'm actually going to be using a deer and doe pattern, the magnolia dress, which I have cut. I've made toiles only for my adult bridesmaid, Sarah. She's had a toile. We've done a fitting. I've made the mods to the pattern and I can cut hers out. With Sophie, my younger bridesmaid, the magnolia dress is actually, it's got enough space for a proper bust. So what I did is I actually draped the bodice on her personally and then did a second fitting to make sure, or did a fitting after I draped it. I cut a new toile, did a fitting to check it on her, and it's good. So that's ready to go. The only one we're in a bit of a tricky situation with is my maid of honor, who lives in the US. Trying to cross paths to do a fitting has been not easy, and thus we are going to be winging it. I've got her measurements translated from Spanish into English. She's not Spanish, but her tailor is. And we're just going to go with it. And she arrives a few days before the wedding, so we have time to make modifications. So that's that. And then, so this is the fabric. It's a satin, crepe back satin. It's showing darker on screen than it is, I think. Or maybe it's just because the light's not hitting it in the right way. So the issue I have, I've got two bridesmaids. One is younger, one is older. My adult bridesmaid wanted something slinkier. My younger bridesmaid also wanted something slinky. And my maid of honor just wanted to go with the general consensus. I could not find a fabric that I loved that was slinky apart from 100% silk from the UK at 100, I think it was like 100 and maybe 115. It was quite narrow. It wasn't really wide. And it was £80 something British pounds plus VAT per meter. And I need between 5 and 6 meters per dress, depending on how wide the fabric is. So that was not happening because nearly £500 for, actually it would have been £500 at least per dress was just not feasible. So a lot of searching. I did find a gorgeous linen that I loved the look of, but the consensus was that linen would crease too much. Other fabrics I liked, but I couldn't get enough meterage. So we ended up going with the majority vote, which is what I've just shown you. I also managed to track some zippers. Invisible zippers are hard to find in the right color. I managed to get two, the last in stock. These are 34, 36 centimeters, which I need for the side seam. And then I got a paler one for my niece because I don't think she won't notice the difference as much. So we have the zippers in hand. The only thing I don't have is the lining. I'm waiting for lining to arrive, but I know it's probably not going to be the right color. So the other option that we have, which is also not the right color, but it's silk and viscose. It's a chiffon. And I just feel like this will be nicer against the skin than the polyester satin because I wouldn't want polyester. I've got a polyester for my corset and it's lined with cotton couture. I would not want polyester against my skin on a hot August day, assuming it's going to be hot. Whereas this feels much cooler on the skin and I feel like it'll be nicer. So I think I might line the bodices with this. I've got two pieces. Should have enough to do all three bodices. If I don't, then Sophie probably wouldn't mind anything else to line it with. She's a child, so she is less discerning, is probably what I mean to say. So that's the plan there. I also need to make the bias tape to go around the neck because I couldn't source one in the right kind of orange. I do have an orange, but it's like a shiny orange. It's more for like bag making as detail, like piping detail kind of binding. So we won't be using that. So that's the bridesmaids dresses. So let's briefly touch on the corset. I don't want to go into too much detail because as I mentioned, there's a whole new video on that coming. It's not out yet. So the main corset, the structure is a couture. It's 100% cotton. It's a nice strong couture. Oh, I have it with me. I did have it. I must have stored it. And then the upper layer, initially I wanted to have a silk, but the silk I have, I only have a certain amount of. It's dead stock, can't color match it, not easily anyway. Cannot weight match it easily. So I ended up ordering a Japanese satin from a bridal fabric company in the UK. It is, I believe it was Japanese. It's 100% polyester. I do not work with polyester. I do not like polyester. Polyester and me are not friends, but because of the cost, I ended up going with it. And also the color. I ordered so many samples of fabric to color match and this was the nearest. So we've gone with it and it's sewing nicely. It frays like crazy. I've done the front bust part of my corset, so that was a whole drama, but you'll have to wait for that video to know what happened. Let me show it to you. So it has a nice, it's a nice soft ivory, warm ivory. This is the front, this is the back. Obviously we're using the shiny side. I'm a little bit worried that it's gonna feel really hot on a hot summer's day, but it's okay. And because there's enough left over, I think I might do, for the evening skirt, I think I will do the yoke in this so it aligns with the corset and then have the fabric draped down for the handkerchief-esque skirt. I want something that will twirl. Initially I thought I'd do a circle skirt, a yoked circle skirt, but I don't know. So we'll see. This would match the corset perfectly, but is it going to be too hot? If it's only the yoke and I line it, maybe it will be okay. But anyway, I have a blue fabric similar in weight to this so we can test a toile. So the fabric that we can use for toiling, it's this, I think it's actually furnishing fabric, but it's the satin on one side. It's like a cotton sateen. It's a very pretty color. So we can make the front yoke from that, front and back yoke, I should say. And then I also have this dobby, which I thought because it's cut, I think I cut it as a square. I bought 2 coupons, which are like pre-cut lengths. So I could in theory just use this, but I thought we could test the handkerchief effect with this. This is polyester as well. I don't like polyester, but I think it was like €6 a piece. So 12 euros in total for these 2 pieces from a fabric fair. So fine, we will play with that. So that's one plan for this week as well. And then the last thing to note is the ties. So David wants a cravat. I need to get him a tie pin actually to secure it. And then my dad, David's dad, the 3 ushers, and the best man will all have regular ties. They need to cut and sew those as well. But those are going to be made, if I do those are going to be made from the same fabric as the bridesmaids. So I need to cut the bridesmaids' dresses first before I can tackle the ties, because I need to know that the bridesmaids are sorted. If the worst comes to the worst, my future mother-in-law has found ties online that she thinks are the right color, so we can always order those if we need to. But yeah, that's everything I need to get done. So maybe I just leave that here for now, because I don't know how long this video is, and then I will film a whole week's video for you to see the progress. And then that way we can have individual videos for each of the different garments as well. And then you can see really what goes on behind the scenes of designing and making your own wedding outfit, plus all the extras for a wedding party. So day 1 was a bit of a washout. You can see here that I did manage to get some sewing done. However, I also broke my finger and I have a bleeding disorder, and blood plus an ivory satin corset does not equal a great combination. So I stepped away quite quickly and I decided that I wouldn't risk sewing anymore. Instead, what I did is I marked in the stitch lines on all of the remaining corset panels on the couture side, which you can see next. Oh no, there's actually blood. Look, I'm gonna have to stop because this is dangerous. I've got everything marked in now. So I've got 5 panels constructed, and everything else I have marked in the stitch lines on the couture layer. So you can see this. I found that that's been working better for me. Some of them are, the strips are a little bit shorter and longer, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. Okay, we're on Tuesday. I've got my panel 4s. Now I'm up to scratch, because obviously I was delayed with the left-hand side of the busk, left-hand body side busk, because of the error I made early on. So that's done. I'm a little bit disappointed that the understitching doesn't go all the way down in the same way that this does, but that's on me for not noticing it early enough. But now I'm up so I can work in symmetrical. So this is panel 4 for the left side, this is panel 4 for the right side. We're getting there. I'm actually really eager. So now we can move on and get the panel 4s pinned. So first of all, I'll do what I did where I rolled the fabric here. Actually, I haven't pressed this yet. I will press this first. Then I will roll the fabric, pin it for the number 3s, then pin the number 4s, and then we'll sew those as well. So the plan is to sew along the line that I've drawn in for greatest accuracy. I'm doing a double stitch, so I'm doing the first line of stitching at a 2.5, and then starting again from the top and sewing it down again for a second line of stitching at 3.5. That's the stitch length. It does need manipulating because I've got 4 layers here, 2 of the couture and 2 of the interface satin. I'm back stitching at the beginning, and some of this will get trimmed away. I'm just going slow and steady. It takes a while to sew each panel, to pin each panel, to press each panel, which is why I'm aiming for 2 per day. But I'm going to put this on time lapse so you don't have to sit there in slow motion watching me. I should probably note as well, I have to be really careful because obviously it's ivory. I have a bleeding disorder. So the other day I actually pricked myself and I had to step away very quickly because blood on this is not going to be good. So I am being very slow and methodical to make sure that I don't make a mess of this, and then making sure that things like the stay tape are out the way. Ooh, I can see that there's a facing situation under there. It's just a very slow out. Nearly got the pin under my nail then. Very slow and methodical process. I'll snag on my nail now as well, so I need to deal with that shortly. And I'm doing this on a home sewing machine just to prove that you can create amazing things for yourself without an industrial sewing machine. This is gonna be a bit tricky. Ta-da! Oh my goodness. So this is where we're at after sewing it. So this line of stitching is what I just did. We have 2 lines of stitching. I don't know if you can see that, but we have a single line of 2.5 and another one of 3.5. The effect of that is when it's pressed open, which I haven't done yet, you can't see any holes. This is a tip that I found on a corsetry website, so I'm going with it. I did a lot of samples. They're in my wedding plan sketchbook, and this was the cleanest way to get a good, strong finish. I need to press this, obviously, but isn't that just looking beautiful? I know we've got a little bit of puckery I think partly it's because I have been pin rolling it so that the fabric on the inside is shorter than the fabric on the outside, so it shouldn't pucker when on. But I have massive amounts of seam allowance. I was just like, the more seam allowance, the better. I'm normally more mindful and careful with wastage, but because this frays so much, I was like, I'm just going to do what I do. I can do the pressing as much as possible, but I'm not trimming anything until the point where I absolutely have to. So I've got a couple of seams I need to press this seam and this seam next. Don't know that I'm going to keep pressing, because what I'm noticing is the more I press it, I'm getting the boning channels underneath starting to come through, which I really don't want. So I'm going to, I need to also, so the problem with the waist stay is I had stitched it down to the first seam allowance, but I haven't stitched it to the next because I haven't sewn any of those. Obviously this needs to be quite taut, but these need to be pressed. So we're just going to pin that out the way, but it's looking beautiful. I have high hopes that it's going to look great. I was fretting about this, but I had a call with my creative dressmaking members yesterday, and they were like, no one's going to be close enough to see that. And if they are, then they're kind of too close. No one's going to be worried about that. And I'm a perfectionist, which is not a great idea when you're making your own wedding gown. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there and come back to you with the next whatever it is that we're working on. Okay, we have got, I've sewn these. I've sewn the welts for David's. So these can be turned through. I need to iron them first. Or maybe I should just, like so. So we have that. Isn't that lovely? Oh, I'm going to pin it down in the seam allowance, Evie. And then this can be pressed. This is the second one. And then I also stitched the, what do we call these things? This is the front facing for David's waistcoat. So obviously if you're looking at it, you can see that this is the neckline here. This is the waist, the front, sorry, where the buttons will be, the button holes, and this will attach to the lining. So this can now be pressed. Obviously it's not pattern matched because it's the inside of a waistcoat. So those can be pressed as well. And then we can attach it to the lining piece that I think I showed you already. But I'm going to go step away and iron these first. And I also need to sew the welts for James's, the best man's waistcoat. So we'll do that as well. I don't know whether I'm just a really slow person or if I'm just very particular and methodical, but I've got both sides of David's waistcoat front darts pinned into place. Now I can just notch these in, sew them up, and I will show you what that looks like when they're done. Okay, it's really hot. It's Tuesday evening. I don't think I'm going to get it done in 5 days. I think I'm doing that thing where it's that whole idea, you know, where you think you can do more than you can, but then when you look back, you're like, wow, I achieved so much. I am an overachiever. I know this. I always think I can do more in a day than I can, and my dad's always like, oh, you need 48 hours in a day, which is not a lie. So today's Tuesday evening, and the plan was, oh, I have to get that ghastly tattoo. I hate this tattoo. I hate it so much. The plan today was to get 2 panels sewn onto the corset to do the welt pocket, the waist darts, and the front facings for the men's waistcoats, and to cut the bridesmaids' dresses for Sarah and Sophie. I've got on Monday that I was supposed to trace off the final patterns, because obviously I've made modifications, and I have not done that. I did lay out all the things ready to go, but clearly I got distracted and I didn't manage to trace off the final patterns for the bridesmaids. It might be because David had like a situation yesterday, and I was on the phone to him for hours. So today, corset, yes, I've done 1 panel. I'm going to pin the second panel tonight, and then I will sew that first thing tomorrow on Wednesday. Men's waistcoats, I've sewn the waist darts, you've seen that, and I wanted to do the pockets, actually attach them, but I also don't want to mess them out because I'm using 2 different methods. I'm going to do David's is going to be functional and James's won't, because I'll probably make this into a waistcoat pattern that people can buy. So I want both methods so that I can take the photos and have those for the instructions. I did join the front facings for David's. James's doesn't have a front facing because I'm making his more simplified. So obviously we know I can't do that until the lining gets here. I am not going to be able to cut the bridesmaids' dresses tonight after all for Sophie and Sarah because I haven't finished tracing them off in their completed form. So I think that's going to be tonight's job. I can put something on YouTube and I can trace those off. So I think I'll do that this evening. And then tomorrow we'll just take it and see what happens. If I get the bridesmaids' dresses traced off quickly enough, I may cut or pattern draft a panel for a skirt yoke front and back. We'll see. I do need to record a lesson on drafting a skirt block for my A Pattern of Your Own course as well, which I need for next week. The thing is, it is going to get dark and then I'll lose the light, and I don't like recording in the dark. So I think I'm going to get dinner because it is 7:20, and then we'll take it from there. We'll see what happens.